The most important moment in the 2022 Commonwealth Games, men's 800-meter final, lasted less than half a second. It wasn't the finish. It wasn't the bell. It was a single stride pattern change at the 590-meter mark inside Alexander Stadium in Birmingham, England, on the evening of August 7, 2022. Wycliffe Kinyamal of Kenya arrived in Birmingham, carrying something no man had ever carried into a Commonwealth Games 800-meter final, a title to defend. He won gold at Gold Coast 2018. 4 years later, he was back. History had never allowed this to happen before. Every previous champion had either retired, been beaten, or not returned. Kinyamal was attempting to be the first. Standing between him and history was Peter Bol of Australia, a man with a personal best of 1:44.11, a 400-meter foundation that produces devastating late race acceleration, and a championship pedigree built across the Tokyo Olympics and the World Athletics Championships. Bol was not a warm-up act. He was the legitimate favorite on raw ability. And behind them both was a field that included England's Ben Pattison, Jamaica's Navaski Anderson, Ghana's Nigel Amos, and a group of runners all capable of inserting themselves into the medals if the race ran their way. The first lap would come through in 55.1 seconds. That single number set up everything that followed. A tactical race, a field of fully charged runners, and one athlete willing to commit earlier than anyone expected. Watch what happens at the 590-meter mark. Everything turns there.
We have 2 laps of Alexander Stadium for the men's 800-meter final. Scottish interest in this one. You know, the records, what tough records they are. I'm not just talking about the world record of 1:40.91 by David Rudisha, but that record by Steve Cram, the games record of 1:43.22. It stood the test of time for a reason. There is Peter Bol of Australia. He'll start in lane number 5. Could he become just the second man to win the Commonwealth title for Australia in this event? Looked good in qualifying, but as did 2 or 3 of the other athletes around him. Big opportunity for Peter Bol. Coming off the back of those recent World Championships in Oregon, finished in the top 8 position. Kinyamal of Kenya, though, the reigning champion, will start in the lane inside the Australian athlete.
This has got the makings of a great race, Catherine. Bol is aiming to become the first Australian to win this title in 40 years. Kinyamal aiming to become the first in history to successfully defend the crown. It could be epic.
So here's the start list then for the men's 800-meter final. England, Scotland, Jamaica, Ghana, Kenya and Botswana are represented. Kenya have won this title 9 times. Can Kinyamal of Kenya make that 10 gold medals for Kenya in this 800 metres? Navaski Anderson of Jamaica then will start in lane number 9. Their national champion, 1:45.02 this year. Studies in the USA from Kingston, Jamaica. Jamie Webb of England will start in 8. Looked very good in qualifying, a semi-finalist at the World Championships in 2019, a European indoor bronze medal last year. Also looking good in qualifying, Ben Pattison of England, the 20-year-old. The last 2-3 years, he's absolutely been flying. Alex Amankwa, 1:44.8 at his best. Disqualified at the World Championships. The national record holder from Ghana starts in 6. Peter Bol then of Australia, 4th at the Olympic Games in Tokyo, missed a medal by half a second. He starts in 5. Wycliffe Kinyamal of Kenya, the reigning champion, 8th at the World Championships recently in Oregon. There'll be a huge draw for Scotland's Guy Learmonth. He'll start in lane number 3. 6th at the Commonwealth Games back in 2014, a semi-finalist back in London at the World Championships. Boitumelo Masilo of Botswana ran in the heats of the Rio Olympics back in 2016, inside 146 at his best. So the crowd have had a nice little taste of women's middle distance running with that tasty women's 1500 metre final. Potentially they're in for an absolute treat here. The final of the men's 800 metres. Can this athlete, Peter Bol of Australia, hold off the Kenyan charge, hold off the English charge? Going round the first bend for the first time, Kinyamal in lane number 4. Happy to get in to the pole position potentially. They cut across down the back straight.
This is a massive night for Australia after Ollie Hall won the 1500 metres. A little bit of shoulder barging. Remember last year in Tokyo, Bol led until about 30 metres from the finish line, and it's the Jamaican now getting his heels clipped. Anderson on the outside, Ghanaian just keeping out the way there, a man put quite sensibly. Kinyamal, remember, bidding to become the first man in history to successfully defend this title, but there's all sorts going on here as they're jostling for position. The two big guns in first and second. Who's going to go for it first?
55.5 at the 400 metre point. It's tight. Keep an eye on Jamie Webb, the English athlete there on the left of your shot, coming onto the shoulder of the Ghanaian. Kinyamal, Bol, Webb. The piercing stare of Webb of England, trying to hold on to the change of pace from Kenya and Australia. Guy Newmonth on the inside for Scotland in 4th.
Kinyamal's going for this with 200 to go. He makes his bold bid for glory. Bol is hanging on. Remember, no Australians won this for 40 years. But he's falling back here. Can Kinyamal continue to pull away? It's between these two.
Kinyamal, Bol, look at Pattison for England. It's a battle for the gold. It's going to be won by the Kenyan. 147.52, a pat on the shoulder from Peter Bol of Australia, who picks up the silver medal. Brilliant running by England's Ben Pattison to pick up the bronze. But he collapses to the ground. The 25-year-old Kenyan came here to defend his title. A Wycliffe Kinyamal of Kenya does pick up the 10th gold medal for Kenya in the men's 800 metres. What a race. Brilliant from the Kenyan.
He went early and he knew he had the high-quality Peter Bol, born in Sudan, now proudly representing Australia. The 800 final last year was the most watched moment from the Olympic Games from the Australian public. He's a massive star, Bol, and that was also a massive performance by the youngster Ben Pattison. He looked really good this season, had a great run in Stockholm. I thought he might feature, but Kinyamal was bold enough to go with about 2:20 left, and despite the fact that Bol went with him, he wound it up, and that is a brilliant way to take the title. No one has ever gone back-to-back victories. He is the first.
Do you know what? If you're going to go into the last 300 a metre down, you've got to know you're a metre quicker than the bloke in front of you. And he wasn't. He finished about a metre down. And Kinyamal, you're right, took the initiative. I think Bol tactically got it 95% right. He maybe should have wanted to be on the curb in the lead with 300 to go, and he wasn't. And that's what ended up being decisive. Here it is, down the back straight. They still haven't really hit the hammer flat out here. I mean, it was almost a 250 race, Kath.
It was. Jamie Webb committed, didn't he, and tried to go with the leading two. He ended up in 4th place at 148.6. But Kinyamal here put his foot down. But keep your eye on Ben Pattison, the English athlete who picked up a bronze. 20 years old. The last 3 years, he's taken a second off his lifetime best every single year. A 144.6 runner awarded with a bronze medal here. But no, the Kenyan, not today, not to be denied, and picked up the gold medal in that exciting men's 800 metres. We knew it was going to be a battle, Rob, potentially between these two, and it didn't disappoint.
Oh, it was a brilliant race. He was bold, and as Tim said, that first couple of steps, when you put the accelerator on, if you then run the rest of the race at the same pace, you've already got that half a yard. This is where he really started to motor round this bend. Pattison came from miles back. He was third last at this point, and now comes his charge to get himself on the podium. Everybody's really excited about Max Bergin in England, and Bergin is brilliant, but he keeps getting injured. Pattison stepping out of his young compatriot's shadow, but Kinyamal kept driving, kept pushing, kept believing, and it was the fact that he hit the gas first that just got him over the line.
Well, he's got a personal best of 46.55 seconds over 400 metres, the Kenyan, and the speed was used there to win the gold medal. There's confirmation. Kenya pick up the gold with Wycliffe Kinyamal, 147.52, a silver.
One number defines this race, 1:47.52. That is the time Wycliffe Kinyamal crossed the line in Birmingham. But the number that actually decided the outcome wasn't the finishing time. It was the 200-meter split, where Kinyamal surged. Specifically, the moment he committed with 210 meters remaining, when every other athlete in that field was still calculating. That single decision, made in under half a second, separated a gold medal from a silver. By the end of this breakdown, you will see exactly why that moment was inevitable, not impulsive. This race was never going to be decided by raw speed. Top-end velocity across the field was remarkably close. What separated the medalists from the rest was harder to measure: the timing of commitment and the metabolic cost of hesitation. The first lap came in at approximately 55.1 seconds, confirmed by the broadcast clock as the lead group passed the bell. That is a tactically slow opener for an elite 800 final. Championship 800-meter races typically run 53.5 to 54.5 seconds for the opening lap, when a fast time is the goal. At 55.1, this field was running roughly 1.5 seconds slower than world record pace through the first circuit. That gap represents approximately 11 meters of withheld energy. Every runner in that field was banking lactate buffer, preserving their anaerobic reserve for the second lap. Here is where most people misread this race. A slow first lap does not make the second lap easier. It makes it more dangerous. When a field of elite 800-meter runners reaches 400 meters with full glycolytic reserves intact, the second lap becomes a series of simultaneous surges rather than a controlled progression. The physiological term is anaerobic priming. Each athlete has approximately 35 to 40 seconds of high-intensity anaerobic capacity available in the second lap. The question is not whether to use it. The question is when. Peter Bol ran the entire first lap in contact with the front two runners. His position between 300 and 400 meters was approximately second or third on the rail, which minimized total distance run and preserved his aerobic economy. Bol's known strength is his closing speed. His personal best of 1:44.11 is built on back half acceleration, and his 200-meter split capability sits around 25.0 to 25.3 seconds under race conditions. The tactical read from Bol's camp was almost certainly to sit, accelerate at 250 meters out, and trust the finish. Kinyamal read this, and he countered it before it could happen. With 210 meters remaining, Kinyamal moved. Not gradually, with a sharp step change in cadence. His stride rate, estimated from broadcast footage at approximately 4.7 steps per second through the back straight, accelerated to roughly 5.0 to 5.1 steps per second as he cleared the final bend. His stride length held at approximately 2.1 to 2.2 meters, putting his velocity through that 210-meter window in the range of 7.3 to 7.4 meters per second. For context, average 800-meter race velocity for a 1:47 finish is approximately 7.43 meters per second over the full distance. Kinyamal was running his decisive surge at or above overall race pace. What this means mechanically is that Kinyamal forced every other athlete to respond at the precise moment when anaerobic energy expenditure is most costly. Responding to a surge at 210 meters out, rather than initiating one at 180 or 150 meters, requires an immediate oxygen debt that cannot be fully compensated before the finish line. Bol responded within approximately 2 strides. But 2 strides at 800-meter pace is roughly 4 to 4.5 meters of separation that Kinyamal never gave back. Most people assume the faster finisher wins the kicking battle. The evidence here says otherwise. Bol had the superior closing speed on paper, but closing speed stops being the deciding variable when race tempo has already been pushed beyond recovery threshold. Kinyamal's move was not a sprint. It was a controlled tempo increase designed to exhaust the chasing athlete's capacity to accelerate further. By the time Bol hit the final straight, he was maintaining, not accelerating. The margin at the line was 0.61 seconds. 1:47.52 for Kinyamal, 1:48.13 for Bol. Over 800 meters, 0.61 seconds, is approximately 4.5 meters of physical separation. That gap was established in a two-stride window at the 590-meter mark. Everything after was maintenance. Ben Pattison's bronze deserves its own analysis. Entering the final straight, Pattison was 4th or 5th, with a gap of approximately 6 to 7 meters to the medal positions. His finishing 200 meters, estimated at approximately 24.8 seconds, based on his bronze medal time of 1:48.24, is among the fastest closing splits in the race. Pattison's late position was not a strategic error. It was a calculated bet that the race would be slow enough to allow a long drive from distance. That bet paid in bronze. Against a slightly faster first lap, it would have left him 5th. What this race shows clearly is the asymmetry in 800-meter championship finals. The athlete with the best closing speed does not always win. The athlete who forces the decisive acceleration at the moment most costly to responders wins. Kinyamal made a move that every other runner in that field had to react to. That is the fundamental power structure of the 800 meters. Here's what this race teaches for any 800-meter final you watch going forward. Track position at the 500-meter mark, not the 600-meter mark. By 600 meters, the decisive move has almost always already been made. The runner who generates separation before the final bend, specifically between 550 and 620 meters out, forces every rival to close ground while simultaneously managing their own oxygen debt. That is the hardest physiological task in the event. The runner who makes that move, not the runner who waits for the final straight, controls the outcome. Wycliffe Kinyamal became the first man in Commonwealth Games history to defend the 800-meter title. He did it without the fastest top speed in that final. He did it with the most precise deployment of threshold effort at the moment of maximum competitive leverage. Would you have waited or surged? That decision is where this race was won. If you want to see another tactical breakdown in the same detail, the next video is ready. Subscribe so you do not miss it. And if there is a race you want pulled apart frame by frame, drop it in the comments.